I'm Dr. Kimberly Manning.
And this is Dr. Ashley McMullen. And you're listening to the Human Doctor Podcast, where we explore the human side of medicine, along with teaching, living, learning, and all things in between, using the power of storytelling, conversation, and connectedness.
Hey, we're two dope academic internal medicine doctors, but we ain't your doctors. So if you perceive anything we say here as medical advice, no, it ain't that. Also, the things we say, they only reflect our brilliant Black woman magic mind and not our employers.
You could have been anywhere, y'all, but you chose to be here with us, and we appreciate you. Let's go.
We're back.
I know it's been a minute, but the pod and of course you, Kimberly, are never, ever far from my thoughts or my heart.
I love that.
Yes.
First of all, shout out to my mama who has been hazing us, saying, when are you and Ashley coming back? This break is getting a little long. Shout out to the moms who be listening to our podcast, who birthed us and those who
keep us in line even when we're fully grown human beings.
Well, this is a loaded question, but how are you doing right now on a scale of 1 to 5 with an adjective?
Okay.
Five being the best, 1 being not the best.
Yeah, you're right. That is a loaded question. I would say I'm probably sitting around a 5, maybe a 5.5.
Wait, no. It's out of 5, not out of 10.
Oh, out of 5.
It's like, damn, that's good.
Yes. Yeah, just to keep it real, I'm doing exceptionally well. No, I'm not.
So why don't you put a 0.5 on it? Okay.
Yeah. Let's knock that right back to maybe like a 3. Okay. And I would say a hopeful but melancholic 3.
A hopeful but melancholic 3. Okay. I think I might be a tired 4.2. I want to say weary, but I don't know if weary is a good word that I can apply to myself at any point in my life. I don't necessarily feel weary. I'm tired. I'm just like tired of like things happening that like clearly would happen. It's like you stuck your hand in that water and, oh my God, how did my hand get wet? Like you stuck your hand in some water. And then if you stick your hand in water, then you want me to do a whole bunch in response to the fact that your hand is wet, but you put your hand in the water. I just want to look over there and just be like, hey, I'm sorry your hand is wet. And that'd be about the extent of what I got.
Yeah.
I'm having to speak in metaphors because the other tricky part is partly my job to think about what happens when hands get wet. I haven't had to think about it when people put their hand in the water on purpose.
I'm clocking. I'm following you.
You with me?
Yeah.
So yeah, your girl is tired and also tired of like how we have to kind of move right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it just feels like I am moving through multiple levels of grief. From the standpoint of like actual loss of family members, and then through loss of some sense of safety and even aspects of hope that I had before. Not to say that hope is completely absent, but it looks different these days. And also, just a sense of kind of uncertainty. And yeah, to be maybe perhaps more candid, I do work for the VA, which means I am a government employee. Yeah. And as has been made known in the news and the media, the flurry with which several mandates and emails swiftly dismantling and delegitimizing certain aspects of people's works and identity, while not entirely unexpected, is still very, very painful. And it's interesting to reconcile how this moment feels as opposed to kind of places we've been in the past?
When we started this podcast, we were still like very smack in the point of the racial reckoning.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole world had, people from marginalized groups, and specifically Black people, in a fishbowl, looking at them and protecting them to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of crazy that here we are in 2025 and everything is just so different for a lot of people, not just Black people.
Mm-hmm. 100%. I think my heart is very much with not only multiple intersecting marginalized communities, but particularly with the LGBTQIA plus community. And yeah, just knowing that this moment feels hard for many different reasons, but for some, it's going to be a lot harder than others.
Yeah, because basically challenging your ability to just be. And also, it goes without saying that this is a terrifying time for people in our immigrant community.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like how I think of when my sister passed away. I didn't realize how many people I knew who had lost a sibling.
Mm-hmm.
I would get cards and text messages from people that were kind of like, yeah, I lost my sibling. Oh yeah, when I was 10, I lost my sibling. Oh yeah, I lost a sibling. I think that people just don't, it's like why you need to be kind, because you never really know. So even like the immigrant community, you don't actually know who is immediately worried about some of these things right now. You think you have this caricature idea of who the person is who should be afraid. But there's probably somebody like less than 2 degrees of separation away from you who has a real true reason to be deeply, deeply concerned.
Mm-hmm. I think that kindness is something that I'm searching for right now, and starting with kindness towards myself and taking care of myself in the ways that I need.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to skip this, but I do have to say, one of the ways you took care of yourself is I see you have Mahalia and some braids that I've never seen before. These appear to be human hair in some type of like different color that I haven't seen before. This looks to be burgundy, but put a pin in that for a second. We just need to honor the life of your grandfather who passed away. And I just wanted to, give you my condolences.
Thank you.
He joins the ancestors, including your grandmother.
Yes, that is something I will share more of to come. But yeah, we lost a really important life in my family. Master Gunnery Sergeant, former U.S. Marine, Andrew Jackson Ryell III. Yeah.
I just wanted to hold a moment for him especially as I get ready to talk about far less important things than his whole life, which is your braids that you. So let's get into what's going on with Mahalia. And y'all, look, our chop up is a little longer. We missed y'all. We haven't seen y'all, and we just kind of catching up on some things. So I could not overlook what's happening with Mahalia.
So we definitely tried to go a little bit bolder.
Can I see what they look like? I can't. Take it down. Oh, wow, they're long.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, what color is that?
Burgundy. You had it right.
Oh,
yeah.
So I like to see, and I didn't even call them fun because I hate that as a backhanded compliment.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's fun. That's different. Yeah. No, it's definitely a self-care task, even though the process is long. But, I think that it's also clear to me as I've been staring this whole time that Jules got a little haircut.
Yeah, she's shorter. She's been shorter. So my little shaved side on the side, I'm in the process of trying to grow it out some. I admit that I did ask my stylist if she would just cut my hair back into my pixie that I used to wear.
Mm.
Said no. Like it was her hair. I think I want to just cut my hair all back off. She said, okay, so no, we're not doing that. But what we'll do is try something else. So we're going to grow out this short side, and then maybe we can have kind of like something pixie-esque, but something between a pixie and a bob. I was like, okay, but if I don't like it, she's like, no, you'll like it.
Shout out to Sakina.
Sakina she is the boss of my hair. She's the boss of my hair. My hair is gray because Sakina said we ain't coloring it no more. It's too much.
I have to say it. I don't think Sakina has been wrong.
What I think, like, some of it is that, I don't know when to stop calling myself perimenopausal and when to start calling myself menopausal. I think perimenopausal make you sound younger, but all these women that be saying they perimenopausal, they menopausal. Anyway, but I think because I'm perimenopausal, it just wreaks havoc on your body. Like, my hair is thinner now. And, and Sakina's like, yeah, you're 54. I was like, this is not a good answer to this.
Right.
Well, there's things you can do, and there's and I'm not like distressed enough about it to put, plasma rich protein shots in my scalp or a bunch of other things. But it's just like depressing. I'm like, damn, all these things like wreak havoc on your body just because, your body decided that your ovaries retired, like, come on, man.
Not cool.
But you do get a lot of wisdom. And a lot of aging women tell me that the clearest mentally and the happiest that they've been mentally has been like at this period.
That is something that I've heard as well. And something
I'm kind of actually feeling that. I'm more I know what's going on with me more. I'm able to kind of talk myself off of ledges a little bit more when I'm worried about something. This is a cool little bit of space. So yes, my hair is a little thinner, relatively speaking. I still got a whole bunch of hair. I understand this. So let me not be ungrateful. But it's just a lot of stuff that happens that nobody tells you about. Like, yeah, perimenopause/menopause is a trip.
Yeah. Well, you do it gracefully. And I, for one, have appreciated and benefited from your candidness about it, as well as your wisdom and your ability to talk other people off of ledges, aka myself.
Metaphorical ledges, y'all.
Yes.
Metaphorical ledges.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the only reason why perimenopause/menopause gets 1 star. I was going to say 0 stars, do not recommend. 1 star, I do recommend for the wisdom. All the rest of it, I do not recommend.
Well, I have just 2 recommendations of my own. Particularly in times like these, I've been leaning even more heavily towards the stuff that brings me joy. So first of all, I don't know if you're familiar, but there is this off-season women's basketball league called Unrivaled that is 3-on-3 basketball with some of the most incredible professional women's basketball players in the WNBA, folks like Sabrina Ionescu, Brittany Griner, Skylar Diggins-Smith, and then also some incredible rookies like Kate Martin, Rickea Jackson. And it's just like this very fast-paced 3-on-3 tournament. Incredible to see these women just showcase their skills and athleticism. And it's just really fun to watch. And what makes it even better is that the league is co-owned by 2 of the women players. And everybody in the league also gets to have investment in it. Not only is it fun to watch, the concept is really empowering. So anybody who's into basketball or is down with women's sports, check it out. It's been incredible and uplifting. And the other thing that has been really helpful for me that I've recently discovered is poetry by Andrea Gibson. So they are a non-binary, feminist, queer, famous poet, and their books and words of expression has been like literally like water in a desert for me. I've been desperately searching for a voice to help me feel all the feels and, give voice to those feels. And they have been really helpful, and both in terms of their experience and also how they think about the divine and spirituality at a time where it feels like the world is so unstable. So those are my 2 recs.
Did you read the book that I told you to read? All Fours?
No, because every time I look at the library, it is literally 250 people waiting to get a hold of this book. So It must be that good.
I will say that everybody I know who's read the book, they have one of 2 reactions. And it's a bestseller, so apparently somebody got the reaction that they love it. But everybody I know, they either hated it, like the response is, I hated it. I've gotten that from 3 people that I'm like, have you read this? They're like, hated it. Or they say, yeah, I read it. And I'm still trying to decide what I think.
Okay.
And someone who listens to this podcast said, did Ashley read it? What did Ashley say? I said, you know what? I don't know if Ashley read it yet. And you told me you hadn't. So I'll just wait and see what you have to say.
All right. TBD. TBD.
There's a lot of adult content in it, y'all. So if you decide to download it on an audio, don't listen to it in the car with your kids. You have innocent minds.
Good to know.
Kings, queens, and non-binary royalty. All of you whom are absolutely royalty, all of you, and who belong and matter. I know it's been a long time. We've been through holidays. We've been through an election, an inauguration. And now, y'all, I know you've been waiting. You've been parched, waiting for a story to quench your literary and listening ear souls. And that will come not from me. No. It will come from the person who produces this podcast. And that is none other than the burgundy braid wearing, transcontinental traveling, Ashley McMullen. You know, every time I make my applause sound, it doesn't come through.
It doesn't.
And it makes me so mad because I make the sound and then edit it and then I don't hear it. So
I'm so sorry.
Yay! Yay, yay, yay.
Yeah. I'll make sure that gets in there.
Thank you.
That was a beautiful intro.
I do need to know, though, what my sister is the what?
The what is unexpected.
Unexpected.
I always tell myself, I was just like, oh, I'm going to look some stuff up. I'm going to, hit her with some deep vocabulary. And I'm just like, no, unexpected. Unexpected. In this case, it's the unexpected joys that are found in the midst of difficult circumstances, such as the ones we might find ourselves in now. So something that happened recently was the loss of my granddad. And so I want to share a little bit about what that experience was like for me. So again, acknowledging it has been a long time. A lot has happened since we were last on the mic. That was in part because I was doing a lot of traveling during this time, including one very, very long and special trip to Australia, of all places. So kind of a random set of circumstances was born out of an idea from my brother last year to do a cruise out of Brisbane. My sister-in-law is turning 40. And so the thought behind it was to celebrate that transition with a cruise over the holidays. And so after jet setting between the Bay Area and Houston and some other places, I took off for Brisbane, Australia. And just so folks know, like, I have never traveled that far in my life. So flew to Brisbane.
Like, you flew regular or you flew flat?
Why would you? Why?
You fly flat.
Of course, but dang, you didn't. Of course. I mean, I shouldn't say of course, but like.
No, I flew to South Africa and I didn't fly flat.
Well, yeah, turns out I am a bougie traveler. Okay.
I love it. I love that I called you out as a bougie traveler.
I know. I was like, what?
You be trying to seem granola like you wouldn't be flying flat. You flew flat. Okay, anyway. Back on track. Don't edit that out.
Thank you. So we arrived to summertime in Australia, which was brilliant, 80 plus degrees, very warm, definitely my natural habitat. Right before I left, I shot a quick email, very last minute, to one of our favorite podcast listeners, Dr. Diarmid McCoy, otherwise known on Twitter as Elephant on a Bike. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, just so you know, I'm in your part of the world.
Wow.
For these next couple days. I'm going to be on a cruise for a while, but when I get back, let me know if there's any chance in the world that our paths might cross. So I sent that and then went offline for 7 days.
Whole country. I'm in the whole continent. Like, Don't know how far I am from you, but just saying.
Exactly. It's like one of those naive things where people hit you up and just like, hey,
I'm in America.
I know, right? I'm in Seattle. Can we drive to meet somewhere? So we do this cruise, which is, 7 days, lovely on the sea. For me, cruises are kind of plus minus, they're not my favorite way to vacation, but I do definitely appreciate kind of the one-stop shop of all the things, and particularly being able to completely disconnect from the world. So I was just like, no phone, no email for 7 days and nights. It was wonderful. And from there, I leave my family and I am planning a solo trip to Sydney for the next couple days. I open my email at the airport to go from Brisbane to Sydney, and I get a message back from Diarmid, who has let me know kind of his contact info. Like, of course, would love to try to coordinate something. Just hit me up whenever you get a chance. So I was like, all right, bet. We'll see how this works. So when I get to Sydney, I, first of all, am in love with this city. I just spent 7 days on the water, but to be in Sydney was kind of breathtaking in its beauty and history. There was a lot to do and to see. And it's also just really easy to get around for anybody who's, kind of a newish solo traveler. It's easy for folks who speak English to get around the public transit system, find things to do. It was wonderful, no problems. And so as I'm kind of interacting with Diarmid and trying to figure out, like, is this meetup actually going to happen? I learned that he is actually based somewhere closer to Melbourne, which is an easy flight, but not a quick drive or train. Mm-hmm. And because he had recently gone through a back surgery, wasn't able to really fully travel. And so, the question came up of like, would you want to come down to Melbourne for a day and like spend some time here? And so, I was just kind of weighing that possibility because, of course,
why not
solo traveler on the other side of the world. And, while Diarmid, of course, has been lovely and nothing but, supportive of our podcast from the jump, I'm also just like, could be a serial killer. Who knows? So I purposefully, I don't know if you'll appreciate this, but I was like, I thought about letting you know at that point, but I was just like, I don't know if she'd be down with this. So I'm gonna tell her afterwards.
Well, Diarmid has emailed us multiple times before, and it does seem like it does give cool vibes. Like, we did not think you were a serial killer. It's just,
absolutely not.
We'd be considering stuff though.
Yeah, but it's just like, we're in America, people can be unsavory. So in any case, I showed up in Sydney without any plans. And so, I decided to spend my first day just kind of exploring. There's a couple museums that I want to hit. There's an incredible library, the State Library of New South Wales, which, people are asking me, are you going to take pictures with koalas and see the kangaroos? I was just like, no, I want to go to the library. I want to see the books. In any case, I'm out just kind of walking around, went to the area called The Rocks, which has great history in terms of really understanding the colonialism, the painful parts and the true parts around how Australia, as we've come to know it, has been established, starting with British colonization and the erasure of a lot of Aboriginal and Indigenous cultures and people. But there are ways of really honoring and exploring their existence. And so that's where I wanted to start with my tour of the city. So I went there, and then there I just walked around, of course, took selfies in front of the Opera House, and then made my way to the Royal Botanical Garden, which was beautiful on the water, kind of like, the Golden Gate Park of Sydney. And I'm walking through there, and it's very sunny, it's very hot, but, also just lovely to be around. And there was a point in which I felt myself wanting to stop, like, in part just to rest my feet, but also just like, I need to like sit still with this for a little bit. There was something that was drawing me to stillness. Mm-hmm. I passed a couple benches. I was looking for a place that was shaded, and I found this bench up ahead that was like perfectly positioned among these like tall trees and bushes and flowers. And I remember thinking, like, I can't believe nobody is sitting there right now. I was like, this is clearly for me. And so I went and I sat down and I was trying to rest, but I was also trying to kind of breathe a little bit because there's just, I've been kind of at this frenetic pace between travel and trying to make plans and figuring stuff out. And finally being alone with myself and trying to take in this moment. That's what I felt the need to do right then and there for whatever reason. And so, as I'm sitting there breathing and meditating, probably for about 2 to 3 minutes, my phone rang. And, granted, I had some cell service, but I hadn't really told anybody. I basically told people just like, don't call me.
That's what you told me.
Yes. Like, don't try to find me. I'll be fine. But it was my brother calling, which, was a bit unexpected. And so I pick up and he is almost like a gasp on the other side. He's just like, I can't believe you picked up. And I was just like, of course, like, what's going on? And for folks who've gotten these types of calls, there's that moment like that space in between words that suddenly gets filled with like, okay, something bad has happened. He begins to cry, and I can count on my hand the number of times that I've heard my brother cry or seen him cry or be filled with that type of emotion. It's grandpa. It's grandpa. He's gone. And, the world starts spinning. The bottom drops out and it's just like, what? We were literally just at his house for Christmas. They had just gone on a diving trip a couple weeks before this. My brother and my grandfather and my mom and my nephew, they were just telling me how special this trip was, how happy my grandfather was. We were planning his birthday party. It was supposed to be a surprise in May. And it's just like all the reasons why like this can't not be happening. How is this happening? What's going on? And, what I learned was that he wasn't exactly gone in that moment. He was actively coding in a cardiac cath lab. I'm like literally almost like a full day into the future on the other side of the planet. And my grandfather apparently had been not feeling well that morning, having some chest discomfort, decided to go to the emergency room. Folks there saw some things in the EKG that they didn't like, decided to go for an emergent cath to kind of look at the vessels that are feeding his heart, saw a blockage in one of the main arteries and put a stent in successfully. But shortly afterwards, he became unresponsive. What I learned was that in the course of trying to open that artery, they actually perforated it, meaning poked a hole in it. And so he bled out into the sac around his heart, which caused it to stop. And so what had happened was my mom, my brother, my uncle were in the waiting room. And, the doctor had just come out to tell them that the stent was successful, everything was fine. And then a nurse came out and urgently called him back in. And they were sitting there when they heard the code blue get called overhead. And my mom immediately started crying because she knew it was him. He was the only person back there. And what was hard was hearing that it was happening over and over again. They would get him back and then he would code again. And so it was just this kind of recurrence of trauma that's happening. And there's literally nothing I can do. I can't be there. And, the strange thing about it was just like, there was kind of a peace associated with that, where it's just like, there's nothing I can do. Whatever's happening is going to happen outside of my hands. My mom was there, not only with family, but also the leaders of her church were there. Like, it was a tenderness surrounding her that I knew that, even if I'm not there, it can still be okay. And so I told my brother, go be with mom, just keep me posted. Thank you for calling. And so after that, I just kept walking through the garden and waiting for news, but also bracing myself for what I knew was going to be a very difficult loss and new reality for my family. And That's exactly what it was. I got the call back probably 15, 20 minutes later, and I learned definitively that he had passed. In grieving that loss, also recognizing my grandfather had been going through a very difficult time without my grandmother in that house.
Yeah.
I know that he was suffering in ways that he hid from us.
Mm.
It wasn't obvious to any of us that something like this could occur. But there is some peace in knowing that his soul is at rest. And I do believe it's at rest with my grandma. But of course, in the aftermath of that, it was shocking, like literal shock. And I talked to my mom briefly and asked, what can I do? Like, do you need me to come home? And she was just like, no, we're okay. Just be safe and we'll talk afterwards. And so I was just like trying to decide what to do with myself at that point. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to Melbourne. I'm going to go see Elephant on a Bike. And so
I'm going to go see a stranger.
Exactly. There's something about trauma and loss that really emboldens you to do stuff you might think twice about otherwise. And I wasn't actually planning on, sharing with anybody what happened. I was just like, I'm just going to go. I'm going to be present here. Like, there's nothing I can do about what happened at home. So I'm just going to be as present as I can with the time that I have in this part of the world. And so we booked the flights. There's like the main Melbourne International Airport. And then there's this tiny little airport called Avalon that might be the size of like a large garage that I flew into. There's one airlines that flies in and out of it, Jetstar, God bless them. But I get there and I get outside, and unmistakably there waiting next to his little 2-seater Lexus is Dr. Diarmid McCoy, who is come to pick me up and show me around his neck of the woods.
Wow.
And so it was really, really lovely. And at risk of making this story absurdly long, I just want to name that, like, of the many highlights of this trip, like, this was so cool to go to a healthcare system in Australia and watch Diarmid interact with his patients. And Diarmid is a pain specialist. And so, the dealing with chronic pain is something that I do on a regular basis as a PCP. But it was lovely to see his approach and to see, his patients' responses to his care, and, also to hear his philosophy, because what actually connects us, along with being physicians, is the love of stories. And, his philosophy around interacting with patients who really come to him out of a place of suffering is to start by really getting to know who they are as human beings. And starting with that narrative and the healing that takes place from just simply listening to someone. And, that alone was beautiful. Like, I could have just taken that. But then when he went further and took me to his home, where I met his lovely wife, Jane, like, just, oh my God, like the nicest people you've ever met, in the most beautiful home in the most beautiful part of the world. I'm going to butcher this, but I think it's called Geelong in Victoria, is the state. And, so it's right by the water, and Jane is an incredible cook. Made me this seafood risotto, which was like manna from the heavens, because I've been eating out like every day. And along with that, they have 3 kids. I got to meet 2 of them. And we sat in the backyard and we just talked about, life and family and love. And, again, I hadn't really shared what I had been through. And honestly, I wasn't feeling any sadness or shock. I was just so appreciative to be with these people at a time where I could have been grieving alone in a hotel room on the other side of the world.
Right.
And so we were talking, and of course, lose track of time. Like, I'm supposed to be flying out that same night. So we hop in the car, like trying to zip over back to Avalon. And at that point, I decided to share with Diarmid that, part of what made this trip special to me was the fact that I just experienced this loss. And of course, Dearmid being an avid listener, knew about my grandmother and, what this meant. And, we also got to talk about loss and grief. One of the things that was very apparent to me when I first met Dearmid and was able to see his office was pictures of his father, Dr. Derek McCoy, or the late Derek McCoy. And it was just very clear the importance and the presence that Dearmid's father played in his life. And, that was a loss that he endured several years back. And so he shared that experience with me. And again, these deeply human experiences and emotions that connect people across time and space. And it was lovely to be open about that. And, as fate would have it, I actually missed my flight back to Sydney. So we're just like, all right, well, I guess we're going back home, which was fine. I just rebooked for a flight the next morning. I was able to stay at their house. Of course, I get back, Jane, and just like, here's a change of clothes, here's a toothbrush, here's your room, and here's the bathroom. How do you like your coffee in the morning? And so we stayed up late that night. And again, my gratitude to both of them, because I know that they are not folks who stay up late. And not only that, we shared one of my favorite beverages, which is whiskey. And not just any whiskey, but a brand of Jameson, in which case, both Dearmid and Jane being Irish, Jane's family actually helped cultivate the grains that went into this particular bottle.
Wow.
And so, this very special communal toast to my grandfather and, honoring ancestors on all sides and just sharing space with each other in such a profound way. And the beauty of it all is just like the thing that landed me in Australia in this household was this podcast.
Right.
And, I could not really walk away from all of that and be undone by the unexpected loss because of the unexpected joy and grace that I also experienced within that same trip.
Yeah.
And, that's the hope that I'm carrying into this year. Even as I've been very melancholic this week, there have been a lot of tears, a lot of heartache. And at the same time, it's just like there's still so much beauty and humanity.
Mm.
And I'm anticipating plenty more unexpected joys that'll come out of this time. And so just want to dedicate this episode, not only in memory of my grandfather, but also in gratitude to Dearmid and Jane and their family for what they did for me at that time, and also the expansion of my family. Now I get to say I've got folks in Australia.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think a word that's sitting with me from hearing some of what you shared is the word leap.
Mm-hmm.
Because, when we agreed years ago to stay connected, even, that was taking a leap. When we agreed to work on that project with the Nocturnist, that was taking a leap.
Mm-hmm.
And then I still remember the day that we did our final episode of the Nocturnist, and we were just talking,
Mm-hmm.
and we got off the recording and then talked to each other and said, I think it would be more interesting than anything just to hear us have the conversations we have.
Mm-hmm.
And then we sort of took a leap. I mean, I remember us even recording the intro to this, and we didn't know what we were doing. Like, we didn't have no idea. We just like winging it.
Yeah.
But that was a leap.
Mm-hmm.
And then you agreeing to go to Australia, even in the first place, was another leap. But the part where you went to Melbourne, now I was very surprised when you told me you did that, because that's the kind of thing that the idea of it sounds like a really good idea, and you
Mm-hmm.
pat it on the head,
Mm-hmm.
tuck it in, and you kiss it on the forehead, but then you walk out of the room. You don't actually do it, but you took a leap.
Yeah.
And, it kind of reminds me of the time that we talked about that elderly woman who was, telling me the importance of just doing stuff.
Yes.
Gotta
Yes.
do stuff.
Yes.
And that was a do stuff moment. And do stuff to me is really about just taking a leap.
Yeah.
It may not make any sense. It may just be because it's what you want to do and you decided you're going to do it. But the do stuff thing, normally when you start trying to create logic around it. It is so easy to talk yourself out of something like that.
Absolutely.
Because I'm impressed that you even made a plan to go to Sydney. I'm like, girl, but I guess it was so far, you know, that like, well, why would I like go there and not go
exactly. Yeah.
That was you took a leap. And, you know, maybe it's a good reminder to all of us as we go into 2025, and there's so much that's already happened and we're not even through the first month of it yet, that makes us feel like anxious and nervous and scared or lonely or on edge because you can't anticipate what awful things could stand ahead of you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of beauty ahead that comes from us taking a leap and doing something unexpected. Yeah. So that's a good message.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably would have finished up the cruise and then whatever was in the city where the cruise was.
I know.
Okay. Well, kings, queens, and non-binary royalty, we have absolutely missed you. And we are back for a little while, so don't think that we just dropped in for this week. We are back into our new season. We are excited to be back in our new season. And also, we are excited that this May, Ashley and I once again have been invited to do a live recording at the Society of General Internal Medicine National Meeting. And we look very forward to having a lot of our friends of the podcast come and rock with us in person.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have to say, it has been such a joy to continue to do this with you and to all of our listeners. It's actually one of the many joys that have sustained me through times of uncertainty. So I'm looking forward to this season. I think we've got some interesting things to come up.
I think we do too. And, you know, I said it to you earlier, but it bears repeating. In this time in particular, where your intersecting identities may leave you feeling lonely or othered or like you are not seen, and anybody else out there who is listening, who these times have them feeling that way, I just need you to know how extremely important you are to my world, specifically you, Ashley. But also, even if I have not had the chance to meet you, the listener, face to face, there's something in this world that we are all here to contribute. And when your unique contribution is no longer, if we don't have a chance for it anymore, or if it's not here, it disrupts the whole world. I like to believe that.
Yeah.
You not being here disrupts the whole entire world. And I'm in it, which means it disrupts my world. But if you are actually somebody that I know and love, like you, Ashley, I think those of us who are proximate to people who have intersecting identities, and I'm going to speak specifically about our LGBTQIA plus family, and also those from immigrant communities, and also those from marginalized groups like me. This is a time that we need to make explicit through our actions, through our deeds, through our love, and through our words, how important people are to us and how disruptive it would be to our lives and to our joy to not have them whole. No person with a Sharpie can say or do anything that erases how important you are to my world. So I love you, sis. And, you know, we got work to do.
Yeah.
But we're going to self-care.
Yes.
We're going to self-care. But as we self-care, you know, we won't give up.
Absolutely. That's a word. Thank you, sis. I love you too. And thank you for naming that for our communities.
For sure. All right, party people. Well, it's been real. It's been fun. And you know what? It's been real fun. So until we meet again.
Until next time.
Peace.
That wraps up this week's episode of the Human Doctor Podcast.
Special thanks to our favorite brother gastroenterologist, Dr. Chuma Obiname, for the beats. Shout out to the Dr. Ashley McMullen for editing and production.
Mad love to our podcast family at The Nocturnist and the Clinical Problem Solvers, our Med Twitter fam.
And especially shout out to all of you, our listeners.
Until next week, remember,
we see you and you are enough. Holla!